Hello everybody, this is Sarahscopic with Eskalia playing Asphyxia. Alright, so now we're gonna get a cute old memory of Samantha and Roberta. So I will start then. When Samantha and Roberta had been young new arrivals at St. Mary's, they were placed in the same dormitory, the rooms directly opposite one another. Samantha had been plagued with homesickness in her small, cramped bedroom, miles upon miles away from her large family, and had been unable to sleep. Instead, she had stayed awake and gnawed on her fingernails throughout the night until they bled and stained the inside of her mouth bright red, as though she had been snacking on cranberries. Ooh, oof. It had only been 2 weeks into her stay at St. Mary's when Samantha had finally caved, desperate for company, and had gone to see Roberta. Samantha needed to be around other people to relax. She couldn't do it when she was on her own. With no other voice but her own to listen to, she slowly drove herself mad, running unanswerable questions and anxious thoughts through her head over and over again like a thread through a sewing machine. Samantha had not known Roberta very well at this point, but she had known that Roberta's shoes always shone, and her uniform was clean, and her fingernails were light pink, unlike the inside of a conch shell, and not filed neatly. Something about Roberta was comforting, almost maternal, even when Roberta had only been 11, and Samantha trusted her sensible schoolmate more than she had ever done her real mother. That was why, in the middle of the night, when the sky was dark, Samantha had slipped out of her room and knocked at Roberta's door. Their initial interaction had set something of a precedent in their relationship, and it was always Samantha who turned to Roberta for comfort, for company, for help. Roberta never asked Samantha for favors, partially because she knew Samantha was unreliable, and partially because Roberta did not need others to resolve her problems. She was more than capable of taking care of herself. Ooh, okay. Sarah, this getting a little too real for you? A bit, just a bit. She did not, however, seem to mind taking care of Samantha. Samantha and Roberta had shared one room and one bed countless times, though this nightly ritual had stopped once Samantha turned 13. Roberta looked conflicted for a few moments, her long hair pooling about her, splashed across her pillow. I'm not sure about this. Why not? We used to do it all the time. We did, but it has been a while, Sam. A good 4 years. We're both a lot bigger now than we were then. There won't be enough room. I know, but can't we just do it just once more for old time's sake? Why do you care about the old times all of a sudden? You didn't seem to before. Samantha's face twisted, just like her fingers did when they gripped the hem of her nightgown. Shameful though it was to admit, Roberta had a point. Samantha was only asking this favor of Roberta because Lillian had left her.
Thanks.
Maybe she really was being cruel to Roberta. Maybe she had been taking her for granted just as much as Samantha often felt Lillian did her. It was no small wonder Roberta had been so angry with her earlier. Even now, hours after their row, Samantha could still remember what Roberta had said. Samantha had not been a good friend, and she did not deserve Roberta's affections. She should not have woken her up to begin with. It had been incredibly presumptuous of her, not to mention selfish. I'm sorry, Bobby, I shouldn't have disturbed you. If you don't want me, I'll understand. What? Jeez, Samantha, that was not the line. That's the problem, is they always, and this is what's so realistic, that's eerie about this game. It's like you tell them no right now, and they take it as you hate me.
Ever.
Yeah, exactly. You hate me. And it's like, oh!
Nope.
Stop! Oh, Samantha. What is it? Samantha's back stiffened. She did not like it when people referred to her by her first full name. The 3 long syllables felt distant and lonely, furthering the real Samantha from the superficial outside image. Samantha far preferred the epithet Sam. It was shorter, simpler, and conveyed far more affection. It was friendlier, gentler, dearer to the heart. I have to admit, here's a bit of ironic twist of fate in my life. My mother named me Sarah because, long story short, when my brother Robbie was born, my aunts are the one who gave him the nickname Robbie, and my mom hated that. She actually hated the fact that he was originally called Robbie, but the nickname stuck, especially since my father is also named Robert. So we call him Robbie. When I was born, my mother purposely chose a name that could not be made into a nickname. So that's why she chose Sarah. They tried Sari, but it didn't quite stick the same way. I'm going to call
you Sarah Bear from now on.
That's what my mom sometimes calls
Only in front of your mom, though. I'm going to call her that. That in front of her.
Oh my gosh, she will laugh. That's the problem. And my mom does call me Sarah Bear sometimes. And the funny thing is that I actually really like nicknames. I think they're really endearing, and I always kind of had a complex that I never had a nickname during school or whatever. There's something weird, so I don't know. It's always been kind of silly. Anyway. Maybe Samantha didn't like her name because her mother had chosen it. Roberta sighed, exasperated, and brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. How can I turn you down now when you look at me with such big eyes? I would feel cruel. But you don't need to bow to my whims. I was behaving like a spoiled child. Perhaps you were, but I am used to it. You always do, and we have known one another since we were children, after all. But aren't you sleepy? I am sleepy, but given somebody just woke me up, I doubt I will be able to fall asleep again. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. We're just finishing for reassurance now. Yes!
Love you, Roberta.
I love you. Perhaps. Samantha giggled softly, one hand held against her breast. Was she truly that transparent? Roberta rolled her eyes. Now stop standing there. Get in. I'm getting cold. And with that, Roberta shuffled back into her bed and drew back her duvet, leaving a free space for Samantha. Well, if you don't mind having me, it will be something of a tight squeeze, but I can manage. She had managed numerous times before, even though Roberta did find Samantha something of a bit tiresome bedfellow. She had been woken one too many times in the past by a gasped cry or an errant elbow, thanks to Samantha's fitful sleep, frequently troubled by nightmares. Roberta sighed. She really was too nice for her own good. Story of my life! Just make sure you don't fall asleep in here. If Georgia wakes up and sees us like this, she'll tease us mercilessly. Mostly, I think...
Please let Georgia find out. Please let Georgia find out. Please let Georgia find out.
I just want to see Georgia so jealous.
Oh, God, right?
Right. I'll keep that in mind. Oh, it's so cute! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Finally! Finally!
First of all, let's address the fact there's plenty of room.
There's plenty of room. Plenty of room in this bed. What the heck, Roberta? Second off, oh my gosh! Roberta, you're so cute! Look at that!
She's adorbs.
Oh!
I'm digging her little bear panties.
Right? Little bow hair. Oh my gosh! Ah!
Too cute.
Too cute! Finally we get something!
At last.
At last. With Roberta's blessing, Samantha slipped into bed by her side. Just as Roberta said, it was a tight squeeze. Given the bed was rather narrow, I guess. But there was just enough room for both girls. The bed was warm, and when Roberta covered Samantha with the duvet, she felt as though she had been enveloped with a loving embrace. This is pretty nostalgic, huh? Indeed. I feel as though I've reverted back to the days of my childhood. Technically, we're still children. Not for much longer.
True.
That's right. Samantha frowned, averting her gaze from Roberta's face. She would be 18 on October 21st. The thought was somewhat frightening. Samantha had always enjoyed her birthdays when she was younger, when her father and her siblings had been there to celebrate with her, but now they were nothing more than a chore. Birthdays were nothing but a grim reminder that she was growing ever older with each passing year, and still had not achieved anything worthwhile with her life.
Jeez.
Not like Lillian had. I don't feel any different than I did when I was a little girl, standing outside your bedroom door at night, wondering whether I should knock or not. I still feel just as small, insignificant, and unsure of myself as I did back then. You may feel the same, but you have still changed, Sam. You really think so? Of course, I can tell. For one, you were less hesitant about waking me up this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sam laughed guiltily. Forgive me, Roberta, it's only because we have known one another for so long. Then should I take it as a sign of our closeness? If you wish. Well, even though I don't like being woken at such a time, I can't say I'm entirely unhappy. Are you sure? I'm sure. Being relied on is nice in its own way, I suppose.
Yeah.
Shut up. Shut up. Thank you, Bobby. You're welcome. There was a small silence as the two girls looked at one another. It was so quiet, one could have heard a pin drop.
Yeah, and then they're gonna find out that Percy and Georgia are in the same bed, too.
Can you imagine? Samantha blinked slowly, picking out Roberta's features in the darkness. She had not seen Roberta with her hair tied up like that for years, and it transformed her. She looked younger somehow, with her curls falling around her shoulders. I bet she looks cute with straight hair. She wasn't wearing makeup either. She must have wiped it all off before she went to bed. That was a very sensible, Roberta-esque thing to do.
She's absolutely still wearing makeup.
I know, like, it looks the same. Samantha rarely wore makeup, apparently. But if she did, she had no doubts that she would forget to clean it from her face and smear mascara all over her pillowcases. At least it was one less thing for her to worry about. Forgive me for asking such a sensitive question, but I have to know. Roberta's voice, soft as a whisper, eventually broke through the silence. Even before she finished, Samantha knew what she was going to say. Her heart constricted in her chest, as though being bitten into by thorns.
Don't talk about Lily.
She did not want to be confronted with such a query, because she did not know how she would reply. You're seeking my sympathy because you could not have Lillian's, aren't you? Samantha swallowed. Though she disliked being alone, she also disliked awkward conversations like this, where she was forced to reveal flaws in her character she did not wish to admit to, not even to herself. Samantha was far too fragile. A handful of harsh words, not even necessarily cruel ones, could destroy what little remained of her ego, scattering across the ground like broken glass. I'm sorry, Bobby. I really am. Roberta clicked her tongue against the roof of her mouth. I thought as much. Are you mad at me? There was a long pause. Samantha breathed in heavily, afraid of the response. And then, spoken softly, like an exhale of air. No, I'm not mad.
I'm just disappointed.
Right? It's just somehow just 10 times worse. You're not? No, I had already prepared myself for such a response. You were mad earlier, though. Because I was stressed. I was not truly mad at you, but Georgia. I should not have said those things, even if I did, and still do, believe them to be true. I'm the one who should apologize, not you. I know you well enough, Sam, to understand how you feel. When you get fixated with things, you are unable to tear yourself away from them, even though they may cause you pain. Roberta heaved a heavy sigh. So what did Lillian say to you earlier? Nothing revolutionary.
Oh, jeez!
And yet, yep. And yet, even as she tried to sound nonchalant, Samantha could not keep the encroaching sniffle out of her voice. She said she was no good for me, and I was no good for her. She said I was too clingy, and our relationship was unhealthy, and she said I should go and see a therapist.
Yes.
Yes, you should. Go see a therapist.
Yes.
This all sounds perfectly reasonable. Of course it was reasonable. Lillian is always reasonable, but that's the problem. She's so reasonable, she's incapable of seeing how her words affect me, or maybe she just doesn't care. Maybe this whole time I was just deluding myself. Lillian is never going to like me. She was right. We really are too different, but You still like her? That's right. In fact, it's even more than that. Much, much more. Samantha winced as though her heart were breaking, and perhaps it really was. A sharp pain shot through her body, coursing through her veins. I love her, Bobby. I love her so, so much. I think about her all the time, in almost every single waking moment, and even in my sleeping ones, too. She's become such a large part of my life, I do not think I could be myself anymore if I did not love her. Oh,
yikes.
Even though she hurt me so much, even so I can't stop myself, I still love her. It will be alright. You'll forget about her in time. That's what I told myself too, but 3 months later and I still haven't. I can't. It's not possible. I care for her too much. Oh, haven't I heard these words before?
Yeah.
Ugh. Don't be silly. There's nothing you can't do. You just need to believe in yourself. But that's the trouble. I can't believe in myself. I have no faith in myself at all. I can only hope when I am with Lillian. She gave me a purpose, Bobby, a reason for living.
And
there's
the
a problem. Not to mention, poor Bobby.
Yeah, what's she supposed to say to that?
After I met her, I forgot my worries, like waking from a bad dream. I forgot about my home, family, my father, and could only see her instead. So I just replaced.
Yeah.
But you were only friends. You may have been best friends, yes, but it's nothing more than that. I know that, not to her at least, but to me. What do you mean? I mean, though you are my friend, Roberta, and I love you, the love I have for Lillian is different. It's always been different. But what about Simon? Don't you have any feelings for him? Who the heck is Simon?
Who's Simon?
Where did this come up?
Who's Simon in episode 8?
Right? What? The mere mention of Simon Fricker made Samantha's blood run cold. At least it helped calm the rapid beating of her heart and curb the tears gathering in her eyes. She had wanted to forget Simon Fricker, the brother of Roberta's beau, Edmund. Simply recalling his face was enough to make her shudder, though she had stepped barefoot on a slug or a snail. Ugh. Samantha did feel somewhat guilty about her initial reaction of disgust, given Simon had not been an unpleasant person, not by any stretch of the imagination, but she could not help it. She gay.
She's not into boys. Yeah,
not into boys.
No, she's gay.
She's super gay. Simon doesn't really have anything to do with this. What do you mean? He is your boyfriend, isn't he? I haven't spoken to him in 3 months, Bobby. You hardly spoke to Lillian these last 3 months, yet you're still devoted to her. I can't explain it. I just don't have any feelings for Simon. Then why did you agree to go out with him? To see if I did. I thought maybe I might. There was always a chance, and you are sensible, Roberta. I trusted your judgment, but it did not work out. Not entirely, no. I'm not upset about that anyway. Only a little bit. I don't really think about it anymore. You think only about Lillian? Yes. It's always been her. Only her!
You gay.
You gay. You super gay. Gay! But why? But why? Why do you say you love her when she's so cold to you? I know I can sometimes be harsh on you, Sam, but I'm nothing like Lillian. I don't know. I can't explain it. Love isn't the most rational of emotions. If it were, many great plays and poems would not exist. I just think she's so worthy.
Oh.
She's better than me in almost every single regard, and I love her for it because she is superior. She's beautiful. She's talented. She's industrious. She's everything I want to be and everything I cannot. You envy her? I do envy her, but that isn't all. Though it hurts being so utterly inferior, I am glad Lillian exists in my life, and I was given the opportunity to know her.
Good lord, huh?
Oh, jeez, you need some help. In all honesty, I feel like I don't deserve her time. Maybe that's why I cannot hate her for being so cruel to me, because it only seems natural. You're so silly. Friendship shouldn't be a case of deserving one another. You should be equals. I am pretty sure I have said this exact line to somebody.
Yeah.
I know that, but I could never think of myself as equal to her. Not now. I love her too much for that. I really am hopeless.
Yeesh.
So your feelings for her aren't just a friendship. Roberta!
Honey.
Honey! Get your head in the picture! I don't think so. But you're not sure? Not entirely? I mean, I don't really understand myself very well in this. It doesn't make it any easier, but I think I really do love her. Otherwise, why would I feel so terrible?
She wants that V.
Yeah, apparently. Samantha peeked at Roberta anxiously, her long lashes fluttering. She had never before confided the true nature of her feelings towards Lillian to Roberta, and it was somewhat anxious about her response. Roberta always seemed so serious and straight-laced. Samantha was afraid she might judge her. She certainly seemed to judge Georgia, and always wrinkled her nose whenever Georgia gloated about her encounters with pretty girls in clubs.
All right, so Georgia is lesbian.
Is lesbian. This is established. Okay. Well, that makes a lot more sense. Roberta looked confused for a few moments. She was frowning, just as Samantha had feared. Bobby? But when Samantha uttered Roberta's name, the concern eventually faded from the other girl's face. She did not back away, not she could have done, given there was no room, nor did she ask Samantha to return to her own bed. Instead, she continued to hold Samantha, her chin resting atop her head. I suppose it is a little surprising, but it makes sense. That might explain why I've always idolized Lillian so much, even though she can be so cruel. So you don't mind? I don't mind. It isn't really any of my business. Simon might, though.
He might.
He might mind a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about Simon. But he thinks about you. He really likes you. I wish he didn't. I wish he hated me. That would make everything a lot easier. Not that Samantha particularly cared about Simon's feelings. It was nothing to her, occupying a space in her brain no bigger than a pumpkin seed.
Jeez.
I do not know why he likes you so much either, given you are so difficult. It must be because you were his first girlfriend. Please don't say that. I wasn't his girlfriend. But you did
Oh!
Oh!
Okay, then.
Okay! Well, okay. But you did sleep together. It was just an experiment. I didn't enjoy it. And you say Lillian can be cruel. You know, if we lived in an earlier century, you would be married to Simon right now with a child on the way. Oh, jeez! Back then, wayward girls like yourself who slept with men before marriage had to face the consequences. Well, it's a very good thing we don't live in an earlier century, because that would be utterly miserable. Just thinking about it was depressing.
Yikes.
Who are you to judge me anyway, Roberta? You've slept with Edmund and you are not married. No, but I've been dating him for more than a year. I genuinely love him. Quite unlike you and Simon. Aw, man, my ship! My ship!
I know,
it's falling before my eyes!
Yeah, I know. These two are never gonna get together at this rate.
Oh, jeez. But you're still one who introduced me to him. You should take some responsibility. I did it to cheer you up. I thought you might come to like him given time. Simon is a sweetheart. He needs somebody to be nice to you. He is a sweetheart, but I can't love somebody simply because they are sweet. There was no attraction, no connection, no anything.
You don't like boys.
How do we explain this to you? He was not even familiar with Kant, Roberta! The Kant, Roberta! The Kant!
He doesn't even know my favorite German philosopher.
Yeah. Your criteria for potential partners really is odd, Sam. Only you would rank a general knowledge of German philosophers as being more important than kindness. Please don't tease me, Bobby. Anyway, I don't like him, and that's the end of that. I didn't like him before we slept together, and I don't like him any more than now that we have done. Is that because of Lillian? Maybe. Roberta sighed. You really are obsessed. You follow around like a lost puppy with a wagging tail. I am not surprised that you fell in love with such a distant person. It suits you perfectly. You really do enjoy making yourself miserable, after all. Samantha pouted, prodding Roberta in the side. I do not need to hear that right now, Roberta. I feel... Samantha paused, trying to think of a suitable way to describe the tumult inside her head, but she could not. It was impossible. Eventually, lamely, all she could do was settle with a distressed and defeated... I feel sad. It was somewhat underwhelming, but it was nothing less than the truth.
Yeah, fair.
Because of Lillian? That's right. I'm scared. I'm scared of going back to St. Mary's and being alone in my room again with nothing to do. No hope at all, no reason to get out of bed. I don't want that to happen again. I don't want to languish in despair, even though I do it so often. I really, truly don't. I want to get better, but how can I get better without Lillian? Oh, jeez. Therapist. Therapist. Silly. Bobby? Roberta smiled, dimples appearing in her cheeks. Her hair gathered up in her face and tied together with strips of paper, slightly tousled from sleep, really did make her look much younger. Her pajamas didn't help. No, they don't.
No, they don't.
With that teasing expression, that wicked glint in her eyes, she could have been the 11-year-old Roberta once more, with the black strappy shoes and the school bag that was too big for her. You won't be alone. You still have me, and I will not leave you. We've been friends since we were children. That will not change. Even though in less than a year we will become adults. I'll still stay with you. You need somebody to watch out for you. Heaven knows what foolish things you'd get up to on your own. But Lily, forget her. I can't. Then don't. But if you ever feel you miss her too much, please tell me. I'll be there, just like I was when we were young. Things are never nearly as bad as you believe them to be, Sam. No matter how you feel, you're not alone. I won't go anywhere. I promise. Aww. Is
that the end?
That's the end!
That's the end.
Oh, jeez, we did it! Oh, okay. So I guess that's... I guess there's endings...
I guess that's the Roberta ending.
Yeah, the Roberta ending, I guess. So... Jeez. Ebihime.
Ebihime, yep.
Yeah. So, I guess let's just decompress for a second. So I don't know what the routes are. I'm guessing, so she was an option, so I guess you could talk with her and figure out more what was kind of going on.
Right.
And then whatever the Percy and, whatever.
Percy and Georgia.
Georgia, you just kind of get to know them.
She's got her barriers.
She got her barriers. I'm wondering if there is a secret ending involving Lillian, or if there isn't. And that's the lesson she has to learn. You're not gonna get her. I don't know.
Do we just screw it up, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to see. But yeah, wow. What an interesting game. I mean, it's about a girl discovering, basically, that she's in love with one of her friends. Like, that, we kind of saw that coming, but they made it very apparent.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, dealing with, depression is always a difficult
depression
thing.
And anxiety all together.
So that was I thought they handled it very maturely and very real.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. As much as we were making fun of the writing, holy crap.
Yeah, when it got into it, like, the writing, I thought was kind of goofy in that, it had a tendency to be a little too expository.
A bit bloated at times.
Bloated.
Yeah, it was a bit bloated in some of the ways. It was fancy, but it was a bit bloated at times.
There was definitely a little bit of thesaurus syndrome.
Yeah.
Like, I need a better word for this.
Right,
thesaurus.
Thesaurus, yeah. But other words were used wrong, so I guess that was something. But yeah, that's it.
That's it. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, overall, I thought it was pretty good.
It's pretty good. I mean, it's a deep lesson, and it's not something... It's one of those things that I've always been interested in exploring, I will admit, but it's kind of... So for me, it's actually been kind of cool, even as much as I was like, oh! It's a really cool kind of concept, because it's definitely something that has very much personally affected me in my life, and I mean, a lot of people in my position, this is often the case.
Yeah, well, it needed truth or dare.
Yeah.
That's what was missing. I feel
that's
like.
absolutely true.
Or strip Game of Life. I feel like that was really the only part of this that was just flat out missing.
Yeah, definitely.
But overall, it was
Roberta and Georgia kissing.
Yeah, that's unacceptable. Because those two, like, Edmund is a cover.
He has to be. I don't care if you think you love him, Roberta. You don't.
Yeah.
You don't.
So, yeah. That needs to happen.
Yeah. So, anyway, let us know what you guys think about in the comics. Comics fans. This game is on Steam. It's pretty cheap. And, so yeah, give us a try if you guys are interested. And, yeah. So, thank you guys for watching. If you liked having Callie here, also let me know in the comments, and I'll see if I can get him over more. And, yep. Peace, joy, love, and koi, everybody. Mwah.